today's video, we're going to be going over how to make an indoor plant more full or more bushy. So in today's example, I'm going to be doing this to my pothos. I have these little guys already propagated and ready to go. And you do not have to do it the way I'm doing it. If you'd like, you can just go buy a smaller version of the plant you're wanting to look more full from the store and just do it that way. But for my example, I'm just going to be using something I've propagated myself. That way I don't have to buy anything. It's just a little more simple, but you can definitely go out and buy the plant you're needing to make more full if you do not want to propagate it, just as a starting word of notice. So this is my pothos before I've done anything to it. You can see it has some big bare spots. There are some ends that have kind of died in the past, and I'm really wanting it to get more bushy like it used to be. So I cut off some ends because it is long and leggy, and that's what I use to propagate it with, and the ends will start to regrow back. It's not like you're cutting a dead end in your plant if you're worried about that. After some trial and error, I realized that literally a spoon from my kitchen drawer worked best to get the soil out of this pot. It was just easier to create a small hole that I needed for the rooted cuttings that I had. If you are inserting a plant, that has soil around it, you might need to create a bigger hole than the one I'm creating here, but I'm just simply pulling this away, creating it deep enough so that I can insert those cuttings into this pot, as you'll see right here. And while I'm struggling with getting these silly cuttings out of the jar, I would really appreciate you guys consider subscribing to my channel. I'm always trying to come out with pertinent and helpful content to indoor plant owners, and it really helps me out by you subscribing. So once you get those cuttings situated and the roots down in the soil, you're going to want to go ahead and re-add the soil you already have or add some new soil. In just a little bit, I'm going to add some new soil in because I kind of need a refresh of soil for this plant, and it kind of helps add some nutrients back to it. But just make sure it's packed down, it's settled in there, it's not going to flop over, and it should be just fine. At the end of this, we'll give it a good drink of water. I'm starting here on the other side by making a new hole for those two other cuttings that I have, just to help this look more full as I want it. And I forgot to mention this earlier, but if you are using cuttings like I am, just make sure that the roots on them are about 1 to 2 inches long. That's just kind of a good standard that you should be looking for, so that you know that they're, mature enough to be able to be transferred to soil and survive. And again, I'm just kind of adding a lot of soil to the top because this plant needed a top dressing of new, fresh soil. You definitely don't have to do this, but when you are all done and you've got them in there secure, go ahead and give them a good drink of water. My son here was helping me dump in the leftover water from those little jars. It's gonna need more than that, so I've got a bucket here, or a bowl here, full of water, and I'm just gonna really soak it just so that those new roots aren't harmed by having any dry spots, because they are pretty fragile when they are just starting out like this. And new little shoots should be popping out depending, on how fast your plant is growing, how much light it's getting, but just give them a few weeks, maybe a little longer, and they will start to grow and branch out, and you now have a much more full plant. You can see here the difference between the before and after. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them down below. I love to hear from you guys, and thank you for watching my video.